Okay, so I know you've been like really digging into all these different political systems lately.
Uh-huh.
And with everything going on in the news, you're kind of wondering where America fits into, the big picture.
Right.
And, well, you sent me this Plato in America 2.0 thing,
Yeah.
and it got me thinking.
Oh, yeah.
It mentions this ancient Greek idea, anacyclosis.
Oh.
Basically, this theory that political systems, they go through these predictable stages,
Yeah, it's like a
almost like a wheel of fortune, but for like, government.
cycle.
A cycle, yeah.
Yeah.
So this document is saying that if we understand this cycle, it can be like a key to understanding like America's politics right now.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get all, into America, let's just break down this whole anacyclosis thing.
Okay.
6 stages, right?
6 stages, yeah.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so the ancient Greeks, they believed that it all started with monarchy.
Okay, like kings and queens, right?
Yeah, classic kings and queens.
Your basic, like, ruled by one person.
Rule by one, simple op.
Yeah, sounds simple.
But the theory suggests that over time, like a focus on just individual power, it can, like, I don't know, morph into tyranny.
So the ruler gets a little too
Yeah, too power hungry.
power hungry, and it becomes less about what the people need.
Right, the ruler's interests become more important.
Yeah, and tyranny, I mean,
Oh, we've seen plenty of that.
we've seen a lot of that, haven't we?
All throughout history, yep.
So what happens after tyranny?
Well, often from, like, the ashes of tyranny, you get aristocracy.
Aristocracy.
So this is where you trade, like, one single ruler for a small group.
a small group, like a council of elites?
Yeah, like the wisest, most virtuous people, supposedly.
Okay, so that sounds, I mean, in theory, it sounds promising.
Yeah,
But, I mean, wouldn't that be vulnerable to...
to corruption.
Yeah, I mean, power in the hands of a few.
Well, that's the tension, right? Because, like, you start with this focus on noble birth and virtue,
But
over time it can decay, right?
into all...
Oligarchy, where it's all about wealth and personal gain.
Okay, so it's not about what's good for everyone. It's about what's good for those few people.
Right, the needs of the many, they get overshadowed by the desires of the few.
Okay, yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, especially when you look at, certain political systems today.
Mm-hmm.
So is that where democracy comes in? Like, the people get fed up with being ruled by, like, the rich and powerful. They rise up and demand a say.
They want power for themselves.
Democracy, power to the people.
Yeah, a voice for everyone, equality.
That's a powerful idea.
It is powerful, yeah.
Okay, but there's one more stage, right?
One more stage, yeah.
And it's not like the happy ending.
Not exactly sunshine and rainbows.
No.
So the ancient Greeks, even though they, championed democracy, they also saw the potential problems.
Okay, so what could go wrong with democracy?
Well, they called it ochlocracy.
Ochlocracy.
Yeah, essentially it's mob rule.
Oh, so like when the structure of democracy just
Breaks down, descends into chaos.
and then,
And then you get another strongman figure.
oh no,
Yeah, back to tyranny.
it's a cycle.
The cycle continues.
A never-ending cycle of power grabs and revolutions.
It can feel that way sometimes.
So how does this, ancient Greek theory apply to America today?
Good question.
I mean, we're proud of our democracy, right?
Right.
But this whole Plato in America 2.0 thing, it makes it seem like things might be a little more complicated.
Uh-huh. It definitely raises some questions.
Yeah, so to understand what this document's saying, we need to look at another big name, Plato himself.
Okay, so we're going to Plato now.
Always up for a little Plato, deep dive into philosophy.
Always a good time.
So did Plato, like, buy into this whole cycle theory?
Well, Plato saw it less as a circle, more like a downward spiral.
A downward spiral.
Yeah, he believed that every system, like, it carries within it the seeds of its own destruction.
So even democracy, the system that's supposed to empower the people, it's not immune to this downward spiral.
Not according to Plato.
So what did he think would happen to democracy?
He argued that democracy, while initially appealing, could actually pave the way for, well, tyranny?
Too much freedom leads to tyranny.
That's what Plato thought.
How does that even work?
He believed that unchecked individual freedom, it could, like, lead to a breakdown of social order.
So, like, too much emphasis on me and not enough on we.
Right, and then you get a charismatic leader who promises to restore order.
But at the cost of liberty.
Exactly.
Okay, I see how this connects to this Plato in America 2.0 document.
How so?
It claims that America, even though it looks democratic, it might actually be masking a deeper reality.
Interesting.
That the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few, it's creating a system closer to oligarchy.
Oligarchy in disguise.
Yeah, and they even use the word helplessness to describe how people are feeling.
That's a powerful word.
Like, they're drawing a parallel to, like, Germany during the rise of Hitler.
Wow. Yeah, that's a stark reminder that even in seemingly stable democracies, there can be, like, undercurrents.
Undercurrents that can lead to dangerous outcomes if they're left unchecked.
Right.
Okay, so if America is on this like anisclosis roller coaster,
Mm-hmm.
where are we on the ride?
That's the question, isn't it?
Are we about to plummet into chaos?
Or is there another path?
Another path, yeah.
Well, to even start answering that, I think we need to take a closer look at this whole oligarchy in disguise thing.
Okay, so is America really ruled by a select few?
Or is that an oversimplification?
And like, what role do everyday citizens play in this system?
Big questions.
All right, so let's put America under the microscope.
Let's do it.
This document claims that the power of the few is shaping our politics in some pretty big ways.
Okay.
And I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty.
Excellent.
Because to really understand where America is in this whole cycle, we need to look at the specifics.
The specifics, yeah.
Like how wealth influences our political system, how power is distributed.
And ultimately, whether the average person truly has a voice.
Let's do it.
Let's go. All right, so we're talking oligarchy in disguise, right?
Yeah, oligarchy in disguise.
And this document, it points to, like, the influence of wealth in American politics, saying it undermines, democratic equality and all that.
Yeah, okay, so let's unpack that a bit.
Okay.
I mean, we all know that money plays a role in politics.
Right.
Campaign donations, lobbying, that's been around forever.
Yeah.
So is it really that different today?
That's a good question.
Like, does wealth really equal power in America?
I think that's what the document is getting at.
Okay.
It's arguing that, like, the level of influence the ultra-wealthy have, it's reached a point where it's, like, distorting things.
Distorting the political process.
Yeah, it's not just donating to campaigns anymore.
It's more than
It's
that.
about, like, shaping the agenda.
Oh, I see.
Influencing policy decisions behind the scenes.
Okay, and the document specifically calls out the Electoral College,
Okay.
right? Saying it could be a tool that gives more power to a few at the expense of, the many.
Yeah, that's a fascinating example.
The Electoral College.
How we elect the president, but it doesn't always reflect the popular vote.
Yeah, there have been times when a candidate wins,
Wins the presidency.
but they lost the popular vote,
Exactly.
which
It
means
means, yeah.
a small group of people could decide the election,
In theory, yeah.
even if it goes against what most people want.
Yeah, it's possible.
So is this document saying America's already, like, slipping into oligarchy?
Well, it's raising the possibility.
Okay.
Not saying it's a full-blown oligarchy, but that there are,
Like oligarchic tendencies?
yeah, tendencies, especially when you look at the influence of wealth.
So if that's the case, what can we do about it?
I mean, I understand it can feel kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, like we're stuck in this cycle.
But anisoplosis, even if it's, real, it's describing a pattern,
Okay.
not a prediction set in stone.
So we're not doomed.
We have agency. We can make choices
To change things.
to change the course of events, yeah.
So it's not about, like, giving up.
No, not at all.
It's about recognizing the dangers.
Right.
And doing something to protect our democracy.
That's exactly what the document is calling for.
A call to action.
Yeah, to look at these historical patterns and, like, see how they might be playing out today.
So, okay, let's talk solutions then.
Okay.
What can we do to, like, counter this concentration of power?
Make sure everyone's voice is heard.
Not just the people with the most money.
Right. Well, one thing the document talks about is campaign finance reform.
Okay, limiting the influence of money.
Yeah, making sure elections are decided by the people, not by, campaign war chests.
Makes sense, but campaign finance reform, that's a tricky issue.
It is, yeah.
There's free speech, the right to support candidates you believe in.
Lots of complexity.
So how do we, like, deal with all that?
It's definitely a balancing act. But the document seems to be saying that the current system, with all this money pouring into campaigns,
Yeah,
it creates an unfair advantage.
for the wealthy.
It's about finding ways to make sure everyone has a chance.
To be heard.
Not just the loudest voices, yeah.
So what else can we do besides campaign finance?
Well, the document also emphasizes civic engagement.
Okay, so like being an active citizen.
Exactly, an informed citizenry.
To hold our leaders accountable.
That's the best defense against any kind of government overreach.
So it's not just about changing the system.
From the top down.
Yeah, it's about individuals.
It's about empowering people
Participate.
to make their voices heard, yeah.
And that ties back to anisoclosis, right?
How so?
If people are complacent, if they don't participate, it creates a vacuum.
And that vacuum can be filled by,
People who want power.
Exactly.
So what does that active participation actually look like?
What can people actually do?
Yeah, like our listener.
Right, the average person.
Who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all this?
Well, there are lots of ways to get involved.
Okay.
It can be as simple as staying informed,
Reading beyond the headline?
engaging in respectful dialogue.
With people who have different views?
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
You could attend town hall meetings,
Oh, yeah.
contact your representative, volunteer for a cause you care about.
So many opponents.
There are, yeah.
The document even mentions looking for those bread and circuses in our own lives.
Oh, right.
The things that distract us from politics.
From thinking critically?
Yeah, we're all susceptible to that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Social media, TV shows, the latest trends.
It's about being mindful
of how we spend our time and energy, yeah.
So it's not just about changing the system out there.
It's also about changing ourselves.
How we think and act.
Precisely.
Cultivating critical thinking skills.
Questioning the information we're bombarded with.
Challenging our own assumptions.
Recognizing that we're all part of this ongoing experiment.
In self-governance.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to this question of where America stands.
In the grand scheme of things.
If anislosis is, valid, are we headed for decline?
Or is there a path towards renewal?
What do you think?
It's impossible to say, for sure. But the key takeaway, I think, is that we have a choice.
A choice.
We can be passive observers.
Just letting history happen.
Or we can be active participants.
Shaping the future.
The future we want to see.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. We talked about anisoclosis, Plato's theories, and how they might apply to America today.
Right.
But the big question for me is tyranny really the end of the cycle?
Or is there a way out?
Is tyranny like the final stop on this anisoclosis train? Or can societies jump the track somehow, break free from this whole cycle of decay and renewal?
It's a question that's, kept philosophers and historians busy for centuries.
Yeah.
And if you look back, you see societies that have transitioned out of tyranny, often through, revolutions.
Yeah, revolutions.
Big political upheaval.
But those are rarely peaceful, are they?
No, transitions like that, they're messy.
Unpredictable.
Yeah.
So is there a way to course correct before it gets to that point of no return?
That's what you'd hope for, right?
Yeah.
To see the warning signs.
The cracks in the foundation.
And fix that.
Before they become huge problems.
And that's where this Plato in America 2.0 thing comes in.
Okay.
It's not just, some theory about political cycles.
It's a call to action.
It's a wake-up call, yeah.
So it's not giving us the answers?
No.
But it's a warning about being complacent.
About disengaging. You're right. It doesn't have a step-by-step guide.
To escaping the cycle.
And maybe that's the point.
Okay.
There's no one-size-fits-all solution for a perfect democracy.
No magical formula.
No.
So where do we go from here?
No. Well.
There's no easy fix.
Right.
No guaranteed way to break free.
What can we do?
What can we do? What can our listener do?
I think the biggest thing is awareness.
Okay.
Understanding these historical patterns. Recognizing those warning signs.
The subtle shifts.
Yeah, the things that can lead a society down a dangerous path.
It's like having a map.
A map, yeah.
Even if it doesn't show you exactly how to get there.
It gives you a sense of the terrain.
The hazards.
The wrong turns you could take.
So history isn't just old stories.
No, it's a process. We're all part of it.
And the choices we make today.
They determine what the future looks like.
So it's not about predicting the future.
Not with certainty, no.
It's about equipping ourselves.
With the knowledge, the tools.
To shape the future.
And that's where the hope is.
It's not about fate.
No.
We have agency.
The power to make choices.
That can change things.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the dangers.
The forces that can lead to decline.
And working against them.
Fostering civic engagement.
People participating, holding their leaders accountable.
Democracy's fragile.
It needs constant attention.
Constant vigilance.
It's not a spectator sport.
You got to participate.
You got to be engaged, yeah.
Well said. I think that's a great place to wrap up.
Yeah.
We've explored some big ideas.
Complex stuff.
The history of political system.
The challenges facing democracies.
But I hope this deep dive has left you feeling empowered.
That's what we want.
Knowing that we're not just along for the ride.
No, we're not passenger.
We can grab the wheel.
Steer towards a better future.
A future where democracy thrives.
Where power is in the hands of the people.
And tyranny is a thing of the past.
That's a future worth fighting for.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Keep those minds churning.
Stay engaged.
Never stop questioning.
And until next time.
Keep diving deep.